one of the reasons, perhaps, I'm this is my postulation, but I think it's from the context that there's strong consideration that the reason maybe the writer left out the word covenant, and it's not extant in any manuscript. None of the translations that we have available for us, none of the codices that we have available for us have this word covenant. It's not there. So it's not a textual variant that we might perhaps, latch onto in some smaller fragment or something like that. It's simply missing altogether. And again, I think it's because the writer is trying to understand that if that first priesthood had been faultless, there would have been no occasion to look for a second. And with that context, we can jump down to verse 13 and say, in speaking of a new priesthood, he makes the first priesthood obsolete, and what is becoming obsolete and growing old is ready to vanish away altogether. So in closing, he's not talking about the entire Torah that's being brought to an end, that's being made obsolete, that's being growing old and ready to vanish away. Instead, he's talking about the priesthood here on earth with the destruction of the temple that was either imminent, according to the timing of this letter, or it had already happened according to the time of this letter, but depending on which side of the destruction of the temple that you placed this letter. But either way, the writer had been given insight by the Spirit of God that the temple with its sacrifices was going to be brought to an end. How long, he may not have known, but practically speaking, because he didn't know how long it was going to be dismantled or stay destroyed, then practically speaking from his point of view, the net effect is that it was gone altogether, never to be brought back, at least not in a short time. So in speaking of a new priesthood, not covenant, not Mosaic covenant, but in speaking of a new priesthood, which is found in the Mosaic covenant, yes, but at a more specific level, he's talking about the priesthood, I believe. Speaking of a new priesthood, he makes the first priesthood obsolete, and as what is becoming obsolete and growing old is ready to vanish away altogether. And this fits with the context of him introducing in verse 1. Now the point in what we were saying is this: we have such a high priest. Not the point that we're talking about is that the Mosaic covenant is bad, but the point that we're trying to talk about and we'll discuss for the next 3 chapters, if I were the writer and to reveal that my thoughts to you, the point that we're going to talk about for the next 3 chapters is the contrast between the earthly priesthood, which is good, and the heavenly priesthood, which is better. Amen? Amen. Let's close in prayer.